All right, everyone, welcome back to the Running Through It podcast. I am your host, Justin Horniker, and thanks for running through with me today. On this episode, we have a nice little conversation with Hannah Cunliffe, who is currently unsponsored, and talk a little bit about things that she's gone through in her professional career as well as her collegiate career. She was very open about a Title IX experience she had during that time and was very open about some of the things that she's witnessed as a professional runner and as someone who has been through some different training camps, and just kind of her experience and her recommendations to how we can make the sport not just better suited for more people, but also how we can hold certain actors in the sport accountable, things that haven't necessarily happened. People don't get held accountable very often in the sport for their actions, something that we definitely need to see more of. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Before we head to the interview, if you appreciate this interview, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you give it a like if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe if you're listening. All that other good stuff. So without further ado, let's head over to the All right, everyone, welcome back to the Running Through It podcast. I have Hannah Cunliffe with me to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been talking about a lot recently. As you know, my reporting has been leading me to just discuss programs and coaches and stories, really, of kind of abuse in sports and where that's kind of led us as a coaching profession, as a sport. So, Hannah, thanks so much for coming on with me.
Of course, thanks for having me. Super excited talk about this today, because this is a topic I'm like really passionate about right now. Well,
yeah, and
passionate, but yeah,
for sure. And like a little bit about your journey. Of course, you ran at University of Oregon, you left to turn pro, and I'm sure that has a little bit of influence, kind of what you want to talk about here today. So I appreciate you hopping on.
And I was at University of Oklahoma too.
Right.
Yes. So and I had a Title IX experience there as well. So kind of everywhere I've been, there's been, a little something. So yeah, it's just I've been in a lot of pro groups. I've seen a lot. I observe. Yeah. So
yeah. I was talking about this a bit the other day, and it's like, it's interesting how like the more that you're around like college athletics, just in general, you always hear stories about like the coaches that are like assholes and like these programs that just something doesn't really sound quite right. And then I saw your tweets the other day talking about it. So I wanted to kind of give you that platform to open up a little bit about it.
I mean, and like, I wanted to also put out there that it's multiple. It's not one or two people that it's like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of coaches in the collegiate and professional level that are having, those type of relationships with their athletes. So my thing is, it's the power dynamic. Like people are in charge of your scholarships. They are, you're getting your workouts from them. Are they, they could potentially alter your workouts. There's just so many things that play into it that could affect the athlete long term. And I've seen so many people quit, because of it. And they're super talented. They should still be, professional. They should be getting paid. They should be at the level that I'm at, but they couldn't handle it, or their performance started dropping and they thought, they took it personally. Like they thought their talent was gone. Like, and it's honestly just heartbreaking to watch and to see that, because it affects, but I mean, I'm hearing it's happening in high school. So, I don't know. I didn't experience anything bad in high school. Thank God. I love my high school coach. Shout out to Coach Gillis. But yeah, I had a great high school experience as far as my high school coach. So luckily I didn't have that like some people, but yeah, college, professional, it's been tough.
Yeah. And like to like lend a little bit of just kind of background on like the college atmosphere, you're like, for a lot of times you're, especially like at the D1 level, you're moving across the country in some cases to a new spot, where as like an 18-year-old, you're relying a lot on your coach to be that kind of guidance not just like in your training, but like in how you are able to adapt to this new environment. And like, there's a lot of trust that's implicit in that. And there are a lot of bad actors in the sport that will want to take advantage of that.
Yeah. And I feel like they're like, the NCAA, apparently someone cleared up from my tweets. The NCAA basically says they're not in charge of that, which I feel like they should have some type of responsibility. To leave it up just to the schools, you know what I mean? No school is gonna want a bad name. Then no one's gonna want, to publicize that happened at their school. So it's just like they just keep passing along to other schools.
Yeah, I had that experience. So I went to like a small D3 school in St. Louis, but we had a coach who had a lot of complaints against him. And it took a long time for him to get fired. And that was at like a D3 school where none of us were on scholarships, like no one was getting paid. And like even then, someone who was like an unsuccessful coach still took so many more complaints than it should have to get him out of the job,
And it sucks because I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen someone get lied, a coach. Or really some of my friends growing up, I saw girls lie on them. So I've seen both sides, and it's tricky because, unless sometimes, it ends up being just your word versus theirs.
Right.
So then it's like, what can the school do in certain situations? You know what I mean? But I just feel like in track, it's progressively getting worse, or maybe it's already been this bad and just people aren't aware. I don't know.
I think it could be a little bit of both, right? Like, I think there has been a while where things just weren't getting reported and weren't being talked about, and like things are often open secrets, and like track, the track community is such a small community, things get around, and like, I don't know if it's necessarily getting worse, but I think there are people in big positions of power, like with like Nike Oregon Project with Alberto Salazar, like these people that seem like they're the biggest names in the sport got to the place where they are because of these abusive kind of personality traits. And then it gets figured out. And now it's kind of like a snowball of things after that. So like, I think it is a combination of very prominent people in the sport finally being outed for kind of their abusive behaviors, and also just more awareness of it.
More awareness, yeah. I agree with that.
But yeah, so Hannah, do you want to tell a little bit more about your story at Oklahoma and just kind of like your experiences there? And
so Oklahoma, I've talked about this on one other podcast before, but basically one of my teammates, so this was, back when like phones was like the big thing. Everybody, you had your phone on you glued 24/7. It's always on you. And like a new school, like I'm cautious. I came in, I had a boyfriend, you know what I mean? So I'm just observing the whole situation. So this guy, he was one of my teammates. He helped bring up my bags when I first moved into the dorms, him and like a bunch of my other teammates. And, I'm just thinking like they're, cool, whatever. He took my phone like 2 weeks of me being there when I was playing a game. I forgot what game it was, some game on the phone. Everybody was playing at the time. And so my phone was unlocked. And she was chasing after him for like 10 minutes trying to get my phone. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's thinking I'm flirting with him, but like trying to tell people around me, hey, he has my phone, like in my phone. Like, I don't trust people with looking at my phone. You know what I mean? I've only known you for 2 weeks. Like,
I don't know. Privacy thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually I just stopped running after him. So I'm like, maybe he's just thinking. And then I see him, sitting on a chair scrolling through my phone. And I just like, my gut was just like, bro, he did something. Like he went through, he could have gone through my camera roll. He could have, what did he do? And like my gut was telling me, and he was the only person to touch my phone without my consent and without me seeing the actual screen the whole time I was there. So I don't know how much longer after, maybe like a week later, he tells everybody in the dorms to airdrop or turn on their airdrop. And he ended up airdropping pictures that I had in my messages with my boyfriend.
Mm.
And he airdropped it to everybody in the dorm who had their airdrop on. And so I have people come to me. I'm in the dorm and we're all at Headington Hall. So it was like where everybody would eat, the student athletes and freshmen and stuff. And people around me are like getting the pop-ups and I'm seeing it on their phone,
Yeah.
like accept or decline. And someone showed me and they're like, did you send pictures to somebody here? I was like, no, I have a boyfriend. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm I'm rocking with him. I'm loyal. And they were like, well, I don't know. Everybody's getting these pictures of you. And I was like, wow. So immediately I had track practice. So I go and tell my coaches, hey, something happened. I'm pretty sure I know who did it. And so, you know, they told me go directly to Title IX. And it took them about like 2.5 months, but they ended up being able to prove because I had enough people that were going to speak on my behalf to tell them that, you know, he personally came up to them and told them to turn on their airdrop and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. So, and he was supposed to be kicked off the team. Like the coach was like, you know, if you end up proving that he did it, he'll get kicked off. But because I transferred, they still kept him on the team for a whole nother year.
Yeah, that's insane.
You only had to do like community service or something. And of course, at the time, I was scared to tell my parents because I sent, you know, pictures to my boyfriend. Like I didn't really explain that.
And like at that age too, you're not necessarily like, I know I didn't have that relationship with my parents where I could just like tell them that sort of thing yet.
Yeah, like that's what happened. But like I'm happy that they took it seriously, but I feel like, you know, it like more punishment needed to happen.
Yeah.
Like, serious like privacy issue, you know, people could still have those. And I don't know how many people accepted it. I don't know how many people declined, like, and it's creepy.
Yeah, I mean that's like kind of illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, the creepiest and like in yeah, so I have the dude blocked on everything, but I still have like all the Title IX paperwork just in case it ever comes up, you know, or who knows what will happen. So
yeah, did you feel like the coaching staff at the time like took it seriously enough, or was it more of a like lack of wanting to like actually dish out punishment?
Because I think people like prejudge, like they just see a pretty girl and they think, oh, like she's just fast or she, you know, she's this or that. So it's just like I feel like the men didn't take it serious, but my the women coach at the time, the assistant coach, her name's Natasha. I believe she's married now, so I don't know her last name, but she took it serious, like, and I know she believed like she supported me and believed me in that. But it's like to keep that person on the team and they like openly did that, and I know that I know my intentions were pure and like I didn't send it to him, so I'm just like I just thought it was, you know, it was just kind of low.
Yeah, and you know your version and like the truth, right? And then like to have this other narrative out there.
I was the only person on that team to make indoor nationals that year. So I'm like, I'm also like your only scorer at all. And like you're kind of taking me as a joke. And I probably should have left there earlier because even my first 2 weeks of being there, that had happened. And then I had gotten left. I had showed up to the wrong spot, the wrong end of the building to be picked up by the bus, and they ended up leaving me. Like they wouldn't wait like 2 minutes for me to like run across the other side.
Yeah. And I probably made the decision to transfer a little bit easier, I would think.
I was just like, damn, you know, first 2 weeks, like I'm just navigating this. Like I wasn't even living at home at the time. You know, it was just like it was a lot going on in my life. Chaotic. I'm new kid on campus. I'm the fastest person on the team. Like, you know, it was just a lot. So I was just like, yeah, from then I should have just known. Like I had too many signs. It was time to go.
Yeah. And like I said, your first semester too. So like not even with the track side of things, but like also with your life and with school and with like all of that change that happens in your first year of college. Yeah. Would you say, so like after Oklahoma, you transitioned, would you say that kind of like hesitancy followed you to Oregon too, or were you just kind of relieved to be out of there?
I was relieved to be out, but like also at the time I was kind of having like family issues and stuff. So I
Yeah.
was like homeless during that period of me leaving Oklahoma and transitioning to Oregon. So I was honestly really thankful because Oregon was trying to get me like they like started to figure out like I was living in a motel. Like they're like, okay, this is like
Yeah.
serious. Like this is a serious situation. So they were trying to get me there as soon as possible to go to summer school and like get some type of stipend because obviously I don't have a job, like
Mhm.
homeless. My parents
Yeah.
are helping me. Like it's just like it was just kind of it was a lot. So at that time, I was just like, anything to get me on the right track and getting paid and like no, like just a stable environment. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was also number one.
Knowing where you're going to sleep at night for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because even my first couple days because at Oklahoma, I didn't know I was going there. Basically, NCAA had to approve me, so I found out 2 days before I had to leave. So it was also just like random.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So it was just a lot. Like it was, just chaotic a lot. So I needed some type of stability, and I feel like I definitely got it there my first year for sure.
Cool. Well, it's good to know that like at least there was that transition period. And yeah, that sounds like a real hard time. And I'm sorry to hear that.
This is off topic, but
For sure. Yeah. So to kind of like move on a little bit from that and like just to kind of follow up on some of the like broader topics that we've been kind of discussing. And like, Hannah, I liked your tweet just talking about like the real power dynamics between like coaches and the amount of coaches that like I have run into who have like previously dated an athlete or who are married to someone who was like previously their athlete, and just kind of the implications there that are a little bit gross, for lack of a better word. So I appreciated you bringing that up for sure.
that I told you I've been in like multiple pro groups. I've now seen things like become like before going pro. I feel like it was just like I was kind of in the blind, but since I've been professional, I've been able to like observe and experience things myself. And it's just like I said, okay, if I'm with A6 and the A6 coach, is talking to, the head A6, signer, the guy who signs
Yeah.
all the crack people, and they're only getting the coach's point of view. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
what if the A6 coach, what if his name's John? What if John hit on one of his athletes and the athlete turned him down? Now his ego's hurt.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then maybe the athlete's not running good. The shoe company calls up, hey, what's going on? How's her practice going? Like, how's she doing? Oh man, she's coming to practice late. I just feel like she's not taking it serious. They can completely down you. You don't know what they're saying.
Mm.
And the shoe company people, they're not coming out enough to be able to observe what's actually going on at practice. Don't come out for 1 or 2 days. Send somebody out there for a week, 2 weeks, see how the dynamic of the team actually works, see how the coach is coaching the athletes, see how much time he gives to certain people and not to other people. Observe. I feel like that's a scary thing on its own, that basically your own coach could, basically you need them because you need them to help you run well.
Yeah.
And if you turn them down or hurt their ego or something, you don't know the length that they could go to try and destroy your career is huge.
Especially in this sport where, there aren't necessarily a ton of options for people to get paid. Like, exactly. And yeah, they have everything, not just your training, but your perception to these companies like in their hands, right?
Right. And everything is damn near performance based. So if you're not performing well, I mean, they're thinking, what's going on? What do you like? You're not focused, or maybe you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing in practice. Who knows what's being said?
Yeah.
What I mean, like you just don't know. And then you could be working your ass off and actually, mentally, physically just bringing yourself to go to practice every day, and some people, if they leave these groups, they get reduced. So some people don't leave just based off I can't afford to get reduced.
Mhm.
So they
Right.
stay in the abuse. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just
It's harrowing for sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's sad. Like, and a lot of talent ends up, they end up to the point where their contract's basically gone, and their performance isn't well. They don't love the sport anymore, and they end up quitting, and it's sad to watch. Like,
Yeah,
'cause,
because like, I
they,
think us in the media too are a little bit too quick to like really write off a bad season as just like bad training or something happening, as opposed to like being in this kind of mentally really stressful environment. And like that doesn't just affect your ability to train, it affects your ability to sleep, your ability to like recover because you're stressed and like anxious, and because of this environment that you're in every day because you need to make a living through this environment. And yeah, it really kind of it paints you back like against the corner, really.
yeah, yeah, it like, because you're almost, you're just like, what can I do?
Yeah.
I want to run, I love it, I like this, but this is also my way of getting paid. But then,
Hmm.
it's it's like you said, it pins you back. Like I like, what can you do?
Yeah.
Especially if you just feel like nothing's gonna happen, nothing's gonna be done. Like, it's no
Yeah.
change is occurring, not enough people speak out about it. They're all scared to look bad to the shoe companies, or just scared to have that name. But more people need to say something, because it happens a lot.
Yeah, and like these coaches are just people in general who are like have that abusive personality, always have people who are there to defend them as well. Like I've known when I've talked about certain people, I get commenters coming out of the woodwork to like tell me how wrong I am. I'm not getting both sides of the story, right? So it's like really easy to kind of taint the water in a way, like against the narrative too. So then now you're not sure who to believe if you're not that familiar with the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that, yeah, then what can you do? You're somebody
Right.
who spoke out or said something, and then it's like, okay, nobody really believes me. Like, I think having to carry a Goucher, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's happened to quite a few. And then, the only thing that really tips the scale is that enough people eventually come forward. But until then, it's
And then
like,
even then, people won't believe you, because then they'll be like, well, why'd you wait
yeah.
so and so amount of years or months to speak up?
Hmm.
So then it's just like, okay, well then, but it's like, it's easier not to say anything, but then you're letting the abuser continue to
Right.
abuse. So,
Yeah. So going back to like the pro setup a little bit, Hannah, would like in your ideal world, if you were like designing a training team, like how would you design it to where there's kind of fail safes in mind for these coaches, or someone that is just like such a like abusive part of the team? Like what kind of fail safes would you put in so that just the mental stress of it all like wouldn't derail careers like it has?
well, I think there needs to be at least one woman on the track. And I've seen abuse happen to men and women. So let me
Mm,
make
yeah.
it clear. It happens both sides, and I've seen both sides. Um, but as far as it happening to women, there needs to be, to help women, there needs to be more women coaches. At least an assistant, or somebody who is there that is able to communicate. Women just communicate better with women
Mm,
sometimes. You know what I mean? Or like, if I'm on my cycle and it's my first or second day. Yeah, it's my first, second day. Like, I don't know, I don't really want to do this rep, or I don't know if I can continue. It might not be good for my health right now, whatever. Like, a
yeah.
woman's going to be able to understand that and communicate that better with the coach. Sometimes the coach thinks you're just trying to get out of the rep. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like, you're in that much pain. It's just like, it'd be better off that I just didn't run the rep. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, that's just a little example, like, of something that could happen. But I think more women coaches, like I said, if it's sponsored by a shoe company, they need to have representatives that are coming out there, like, and actually participating, observing the practices, watching from afar. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
seeing dynamics and watching everything. Because it's definitely, it's more than one side. And trust me, the athletes are making it to practice every single day. I've only in my career probably seen 2 or 3 people that don't come every day, especially if they're signed. They're coming
Yeah,
every
and like that's very believable. It's like it's how you make your money, right? Like no one's gonna.
yeah. It's more, you can go through the motions. I've seen people, go through the motions, just go to practice because they got to go to practice. But majority of people out there are working hard,
Yeah,
like mentally and physically. Like the track, you're so tired, you can't go have fun on the weekend. Like it's not fun for you to, you can't party every weekend. I mean, if you can, kudos to you. But like especially on that level, it's just you have to take things serious. Your rest is important. Your hydration, vitamin supply, everything. Like you have to take everything into account. You have to take into account the people around you. Are they draining your energy too much? Like it's so many aspects in tracking it that will affect you, and everything basically has to be in the right position for you to do well.
yeah, I talk about it with like some of my athletes sometimes. Like stress is stress, whether it's from running from the track or from like your life, right? So yeah, it all has an impact. Have you like talked to any of the brand reps before about like any of this, or have you gotten any feedback as far as like where their mind is?
I haven't, and it's something that I want to do because it needs to happen. I think once I develop a good relationship, because right now I'm not signed. So the next person that I sign with, that's a big thing that I want to discuss, like whether I'm in their main training group or not. I think it's important to help for all the athletes' sake. And the coaches, maybe some coaches are falsely accused of certain things, and now you have somebody there that's able to observe firsthand. Well, yeah, maybe this coach is right. She does come to practice 5 minutes late, or she doesn't really put a good effort in the weight room. You know what I mean? They're able to see it for themselves instead of just going off of one person.
Yeah, and like majority of the time they're gonna back the coach over the athlete just because of like the amount of resources they have into the coach, into the program. And
or what, how many medals the coach athletes has brought home.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's just how it is.
Yep, it happens. I've reported on it.
Yeah, no, I was looking on your Twitter. I am familiar with some of the things that you reported on. So
yeah, and it's like it's hard because like some people want to talk, some people don't, right? And even the people who have something to say, like I never fault someone for not wanting to come forward with a story because like retaliation is real, especially in this sport. Everyone knows each other. It's a small sport, So for sure.
No, retaliation is real.
All right, Hannah. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me, having a conversation with me. I think it was really productive. So
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And if people want to follow you, if they want to find you, where can they find you at?
Hannah MC5 on Instagram and Hannah Cunliffe 5 on Twitter and TikTok.
Perfect. Let's get that brand up. Let's get a sponsorship deal out of it. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.